Hi, everyone. Happy Saturday. I decided to start a little early today, so welcome in, everyone. Today, we are going to discuss the Nolan Wells case. This case is one that has captured the attention nationally, and I want to discuss that case specifically because there's a lot of moving parts and the case seems like there's different stories we're getting from the friends, and I just want to go over that as well as the GPS data that has been released. The GPS data is showing a lot of movement that happened on the 4th of July with that boat. So I want to get into those things today. Um, First of all, if you're new here, hit that like button. This is not a lawyer podcast. Yeah, hit that like button and subscribe. Thank you so much. So let's get started here. What I want to say is that sometimes it's not what happened that raises questions, it's everything that happened after, right? After the incident, after the event that raises questions. In this Nolan Wells case we have here, the investigators, they're continuing to piece together the events of that day. And but for many following this case, it's the timeline and the actions that followed, right? That have become the center of attention almost in this case. You know, the friends' behavior immediately after Nolan was missing, right? So one of the most discussed pieces of evidence is the boat's GPS data. According to available records, the vessel reported to have mechanical problems, and there was a distress call. We have audio of that. So I will go ahead and share my screen so you guys can take a look at what I am looking at here, okay? So here is a map I created, right? And this is a route, the route that was taken by the boat. We don't know at this time who the owner is. We don't have that information available, but this was the route that was provided, okay? Now, what I want to say is that the distress call itself has become a point of debate. While some reports described it as simply a mechanical issue, others point out that the reported message was far more alarming, right? Some are saying, some are minimizing the call as, oh, it was nothing really, However, you can clearly hear in that call, you can clearly hear the young man say, "We are sinking." Those words carry weight. Those words carry weight. We are sinking, he says. I will play that call in just a moment. Even more intriguing, though, is where that call was originated from, because records indicate it came from the same general area where Nolan Wells's body would later be found. That fact alone does not explain what happened, but it places the distress call in a location. Investigators have every reason to examine this very closely. Okay, so again, the distress call was made from the location his body was found. All right. So then we have the GPS records, right? We have those records. And it's reporting that the vessel in that area, it leaves at approximately 4:31. Okay, so here it is. I'm sorry, it leaves Horn Island at 4:31. But the boat first departs from Ocean City departure dock at 9:56 a.m. It arrives at Horn Island at 11:14 a.m. Leg 1, that's 78 minutes. Okay? Then it's on the island for 5 hours and 17 minutes on the island. It leaves Horn Island at 4:31 p.m. It arrives back to the departure dock at 5:52 p.m., okay? Okay. So now, once it arrives back, this is leg 2, which took 81 minutes, which makes sense. It coincides miles traveled, minutes taken, right? We're good there. Now, what happens here? What happens here that at 6:02, this boat takes off to Fort Bayou launch. Now, the distance, leg 4, the distance is 5 to 7 miles. However, they took 1 hour and 13 minutes. That is super interesting. Again, this is the 5-7 mile distance, and it took 1 hour and 13 minutes, all right? Now, what happens after they arrive at Fort Bayou? Well, what happens is they take the boat back to the port, to the dock, I'm sorry. They head back within, let's see, they head back within, they arrive at 6. Leg 5, where's leg 5? Here. Again, 5 to 7 miles, time unknown. They depart at 7:19 is when it arrives back. Again, 5-7 miles, that's another hour missing. So now we have 2 hours here missing. 2 hours in this area that is now missing. Because again, it's 5 to 7 miles. It should not take that long, right? All right. So then what happens after they arrive? Well, what happens is that according to the GPS reports is that it returns again to Fort Bayou at 7:19. And then that's when the distress call is made, okay? So GPS records reportedly shows the vessel in that area around 4:31 p.m. Later records indicate that the boat was towed approximately 2.5 miles with the tow beginning around 4:45 p.m. So the vehicle was towed. And after the vehicle was towed, you have all of this activity happening, if that makes sense, okay? So according to reports, the vehicle was towed at 4:45, but they take the boat out again, all right? So on paper, these seem to be straightforward timestamps, but within any investigation, timeline matters. We know that. And this timeline has raised more questions than it has answers. Okay. So I want to go ahead and play. Hey, Jules. Hi, Scully. How are you? Oh, thank you for being here. Oh, Jesus. Hi there. Thank you for being here. We're talking about Nolan Wells. All right. So, what I want to do is let's go ahead. I'm going to share this right here for you guys. Okay. This is via CBS News. Okay. Let's play this.
Nolan Wells met with the district attorney who confirmed the investigation will eventually be turned over to a grand jury. They're still wondering what happened to the 18-year-old on the July 4th weekend. Let's bring in Anna Schechter, who runs our crime unit. She's joining us right now. Anna, so what are we learning about those new details in this case? What can you tell us?
Well, we actually have obtained new movement records, GPS data. Our Jared Eggleston and Skylar Henry down in Mississippi obtained this from a Mississippi entity, and it actually shows exactly where the boat left from.
Okay, let's go through this slowly. Clearly, they have some other data here, which I used, honestly. I used some of this data to create that map I created on ChatGPT. But let's take a look at this, okay? So here we are. Now, we're showing that the vessel departs at 9:56 a.m., right? Okay, so that matches up.
And it actually shows exactly where the boat left from when it arrived at Horn Island. You're seeing, as that scrolls down on your screen there, you're seeing that July 4th, that tracking movement, the vessel.
There we go. It leaves the dock at 9:56 a.m. It arrives at 11:14 a.m. Okay, so it makes it to Horn Island. All right.
Reaching Horn Island around 11:14 a.m. And then we also see when the boat left. Now, as we've been reporting, Nolan Wells was not on that boat, although his keys and.
So they have been reporting that Nolan Wells did not leave, but we don't know that for sure. So I think it's irresponsible. First of all, I think it's irresponsible of the sheriff ruling out foul play so early on in the investigation, right? Because GPS data was just recently released. So they didn't have none of this data. They don't have the autopsies records, but yet foul play was ruled out. I think that's irresponsible. All right. And now you have CBS News saying that he was on the boat. That has not been confirmed. So that's also very irresponsible what do you expect from legacy media, right? So now it's saying that at 1744, which is that's military time, right? 1744, it's actually 5:44. So 5:44, it arrives at Camino Railroad. Let's continue.
Phone were. And so we see the boat then go and actually dock at a different location, then drive at a different
location, then go and actually. This is a problem here. It arrives at Camino Railroad. What does that mean? Camino Railroad. Why did it didn't reach the dock? This is interesting. Okay, this is not good. So you have it was at 4:31, right? 16:31, that's 4:31, it was towed. It says it departs Horn Island. Vessel was towed approximately 2.75 miles before normal operation resumed. Okay, so that means that we know the distance. We know the distance from Horn Island to the dock is about 20 miles. 20 miles. 20 miles. So they were close enough. They were close enough, right? They were almost there. It says it was towed 2.75 miles. Okay. Now, let's continue.
Dock at a different location, then drive overland to the home of the owners of the boat. So this is new information that is all being reviewed by investigators who are still trying to figure out exactly what happened to Nolan Wells, Mugo.
Yeah, his parents have a lot of questions.
Mugo.
Yeah, his parents.
Nolan Wells, Mugo.
Yeah, his parents have a lot of questions.
Scully, you have been a member for 3 months? Oh my God. Okay, Scully, thank you for being a member for 3 months. Could you imagine a 3-month baby? Thank you, Scully. Hi, Leah. How are you? Hi, Leah. Nice to see you here. Okay, let's share this other video I have here. Okay, ready? Let's play it.
Information regarding the trip that Nolan Wells and his friends took to Horn Island, including GPS data from the boat.
Tyler Bell brings us the latest developments.
The Mississippi Department of Marine Resources releasing data Wednesday night about the boat that Wells and his friends traveled on to Horn Island July 4th. We've confirmed that this data was pulled at the request of the Jackson County Sheriff's Office as a part of the investigation. Wells and his friends joined hundreds.
I want to add that the only reason we're getting this information, the only reason this case has how can I say this? Caught some traction, or in other words, so to speak, is because the pressure by Ben Crump and those attorneys applying pressure to Jackson County to get answers for Nolan Wells is the reason we're seeing this today. Otherwise, they wanted to rule this out as a accident immediately, like right off the jump. I think that's insane. For all of the there's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of other stories out there. I guess some rumors could be. We don't know. Those things need to be vetted. You know, law enforcement should be doing their job and vetting out this information, what's real and what's not, you know? So let's continue playing this.
Other boaters on July 4th to enjoy the holiday on Horn Island. The boat's GPS shows it left a private dock shortly before 10 a.m. on July 4th and arrived on Horn Island at around 11:15. The boat then left the island at 4:31 p.m., traveling into Fort Bayou around 5:50 and returning to the dock shortly after 6.
See, the thing is, it doesn't head back to the dock after it's towed. Hang on, let's.
Fort Bayou around 5:50 and returning to the dock shortly after 6. Into Fort Bayou around 15. The boat then left the island at 4:31 p.m., traveling into Fort Bayou around 5:50 and returning to the dock.
That's interesting because the call was made at 4:45. It was towed at 4:45. Why aren't they? But they're not saying anything about this being towed at 4:45. Listen again.
Around 5:50 and returning to the dock shortly after 6 p.m., traveling into Fort Bayou around 5:50 and returning to the dock shortly after 6. Later, the boat went to the Fort Bayou boat launch at 7:19 p.m., where it was taken out of the water and trailered to the owner's home in Biloxi. Also, you may...
This is interesting. This is not what we're hearing. See how we're hearing conflicting stories here? that means something's wrong. We're hearing conflicting stories. This reporting is saying that it was towed around 6. That's not what we heard. But let's play it again.
Was taken out of the water and trailered to the owner's home in Biloxi. Also, you may recall a statement put out by the mother of one of Nolan's friends, Jackson County Chancery Judge Ashley Cole. Cole says the group left the island around 4:30 when the boat was taken.
See, that's another inconsistency right here, because the judge initially comes out and says that they leave at 3 p.m. I have that somewhere. She says they leave at 3 p.m., but she later switches it up. She came out publicly. This is the judge. This is the judge. I don't know the laws in Mississippi, but I don't think this is very I don't think this is legal that she came out as a judge and taking a side. You're not supposed to do that. A judge should be impartial. But we have a judge taking obviously her son's side, but you're not supposed to publicly come out saying that stuff. So then the judge says, I have that statement as well. I think we're going to be here for 3 hours, honestly. The judge later on says that they leave at 4:30. And I think it's interesting that she came out with that statement shortly before this GPS data was released. So did she change her story to coincide with this data? That's interesting.
Taking on water. Dispatch audio from a private towing company has been released in connection with that boat. In it, the caller states that the boat is sinking. The dispatcher then asks if everyone is on board and in good health. The caller then confirms that everybody is on board. Results from the state and independent autopsies have still not been released, along with the cause of death.
So for an accidental drowning, right? I just want to see something. Let's ask good old Chat GPT, right? So for an accidental drowning, typically, how long does the autopsy take? So it says here, let's do some Chat GPT action here. All right. Actually, let's finish this off, then we'll move on.
We have been in contact with the coroner's office every day, checking on by the mother of one of Nolan's friends, Jackson County Chancery Judge Ashley Cole. Cole says the group left the island around 4:30 when the boat was taking on water. Dispatch audio from a private towing company has been released in connection with that boat. In it, the caller states that the boat is sinking. The dispatcher then asks if everyone is on board and in good health. The caller then confirms that everybody is on board. Results from the state and independent autopsies have still not been released, along with the cause of death. We have been in contact with the coroner's office every day, checking on those results. At Wednesday's news conference, the family's legal team did say it's likely that the results of the independent autopsy would be released sometime after the funeral. I'm Tyler Bell, WLOX News Network.
The funeral is Monday. I think it was a smart move that Ben Crump and his team decided to do an independent autopsy report. One, first, because it's Mississippi. We can't trust them for shit. I'm sorry. And that's your fault, Mississippi. You set a great name for yourself. Such a fine name for yourself. So, number one, I'm glad that Ben Crump is doing the autopsy. I think it was smart. It was a smart move. So now I wonder if they're going to wait for Jackson County to release their first. I mean, it's let's see who releases their autopsy first, right? But according to this here, he literally said it will be released Monday after the funeral. What does that mean? To me, it means it's possible it's back yet, right? Because how are you so sure that it'll be released Monday after the funeral? How are they so sure about that, right? So I have questions about this autopsy report. So we asked ChatGPT. Let me pull it up. Hey, Kane. What's up? What's up? Thank you for being here, guys. Okay, so we asked ChatGPT, hey, I said, well, how long does it take? I mean, they were so quick to rule this out, right? So quick. Accidental drowning. All right. So where's the autopsy then? Mississippi? Where's the autopsy report? You were so quick to rule this an accidental drowning, huh? So I asked ChatGPT for an accidental drowning, typically, how long does the autopsy take? For a suspected accidental drowning, the autopsy itself is usually completed within 2 to 4 hours. You guys, I'm sorry. Rest in peace, Nolan Wells. I don't mean to laugh. But it's the bullshit, man. It's the fucking bullshit case after case. I can't take it. It's the fucking bullshit, man. 2 to 4 hours. 2 to 4 hours. But determining the final cause and manner of death often takes much longer. All right. Here's the general timeline. External and internal examination is done and usually completed the day of the autopsy, often within 2 to 4 hours. So I believe that between 2 to 4 hours, they would have known if this was an accident or not, in my opinion. Then there's a collection of samples, toxicology tests. Now, this is what takes the longest, right? We know that toxicology reports can take from 4 to 12 weeks. Okay. Then histology, often 1 to 3 weeks. That's the tissue examination, additional testing. Okay, cool. Now, medical examiners often issue a preliminary finding shortly after the autopsy if there's obvious findings. For example, they may state that the cause of death is pending further investigation while waiting for toxicology and lab results. The final autopsy report may not be completed for 6 to 12 weeks, and in complex or high-profile cases, it can take several months. So I think this is where we're standing here. Could be because it's a high-profile case. But what's interesting to me, if this right here, if it's an accidental drowning, it says that it's usually completed 2 to 4 hours. Let's read on. In cases like Nolan Wells, if investigators are trying to determine whether death was a straightforward accidental drowning or whether another event occurred before the drowning, the medical examiner may look for evidence of blunt force injuries or trauma, signs of natural disease, water or other material in the airways and lungs consistent with drowning. Toxicology reports evidence that the person was alive when they entered the water versus entering the water after death. Yo, you know that oh my God, this is good because let's just say, right? Not theoretically, but for shits and giggles, let's just say that something terrible happened to Nolan's body and they decided to, accidental or not, they decided to place the body back in the water. Do you know that this exam will pick up on that, is what I'm saying? Wow. Information from investigation, including witness statements, scenes findings, recovery circumstances to help interpret the medical findings. Okay, what I want to ask is one more thing. I want to ask, what was I going to say? For Nolan Wells, if you're asking in relation to Nolan Wells' case, I can also explain why families sometimes expect answers within a few days while the official autopsy report can remain. Yeah. Well, does the preliminary report Wait. Oh, was there water log in Nolan Wells's case? Because you know what, you guys, another thing with this case, do you know that he was Nolan Wells, you know how they let's see what this says. Because with Nolan Wells, I heard that there was not. Wait, let me try something else. And I also heard in Nolan Wells's case, we hear that he was identified via dental records, waterlogged dental records. Hold on, I'm trying something else because we need this data. So it's saying, based on publicly available records, as of today, there has not been any official statement. What has been publicly reported is the Jackson County coroner said there were no immediate signs of physical trauma. Oh, wow. No immediate signs of physical trauma visible when the body was recovered, but because of the condition of the body, it was sent to Mississippi State Medical Examiner for full autopsy. Both the official autopsy and a family requested independent autopsy are still pending or waiting. Yeah, we know that. Law enforcement has said they suspect drowning, but they have not released the final cause or manner of death pending complete autopsy. We know that too. Waterlogged. No official source has publicly described Nolan's body as waterlogged, but I heard it somewhere. I think the Cajun Navy said it. The term waterlogged is not a standard medical examiner finding. Instead, a forensic pathologist typically describe objective findings such as fluid or frothy fluid in the airways, water in the stomach, changes in the lungs, decomp changes, or an autopsy observation. But someone from the Cajun Navy, I have to look for it because they said that his body was not waterlogged, that it was not, was what it was reported. Now, to me, does a body have to be waterlogged to indicate drowning? No. A person can drown without a body being described as waterlogged. Likewise, the absence of a description like waterlogged does not rule drowning in or out. Okay. So, I want to go here. Let's read what the coroner had to say. This is interesting. So if he died in water, well. So Scully's saying, yeah, based on where the blood is mostly pooled in the body, once heart stops beating, the gravity leaves, the bruises pointing towards gravity type shit. I see. All right, so a timeline. I just want to see what the medical examiner said here. Interesting. I clicked on it because it said something about medical examiner, but I don't see anything related to a medical examiner quote. Nothing. So here's a timeline. Okay, so the sheriff made a statement July 6th that no foul play was suspected. There it is. Right? So on 7/6, no foul play was suspected. That was when he was found. He was found on the 6th, immediately on the same day. He was found on the 6th, and no foul play was suspected immediately, okay? Now, then on to the 7th, they retained Ben Crump. On the 8th, Sheriff's Department acknowledged the speculation on social media, but noted investigators are working to establish facts, okay? That's crazy. Okay, next. Then the 10th, there's that news conference. She said the sheriff's statements also gave the family pause. Okay. She says, I do absolutely respect law enforcement, but the accidental drowning thing, it made both me and his father uncomfortable. Why are we so quick to rush to this? So she asked for transparency from law enforcement, right? They want answers, rightfully so. Rightfully so. Okay. Then on the 10th, his body was flown for a second autopsy to DC. Okay. Now we're on to the 11th. Crump says they're expected soon. That was a week ago. I wonder if they're just waiting for Jackson. They're playing the waiting game, waiting for Jackson to release theirs. It's super interesting to me that Jackson has not released theirs yet. I gotta say. I must say. Then on the 15th, we have another. Oh, we're going to play this too. 7:15, we have another conference. This is when they talk about grand jury. So that gave me pause because the fact that this case is going to be presented to a grand jury, that means that they are basically, the district attorney is like, I'm not going to press any charges. It's not going to be me. She's passing the buck. That's what this chick is doing, in my opinion. The district attorney is just passing the buck to the jury, to the grand jury. No. Also in this meeting, it was revealed that they're going to have a mutual inspection of Nolan's phone. We know that the family seized the phone, right? And I'm glad they did. I'm glad Ben Crump, they were able to get their hands on that phone before law enforcement did. I don't trust those cops over there in Mississippi. Who knows what could have happened to that phone. So I'm glad they have that. So what they agreed upon here is that the district attorney and the prosecutors are going to mutually inspect this phone. They both are. So what it looks like to me is that we're going to have 2 autopsies and 2 separate investigations done on this case. All right. Then let's continue and see. I don't see anything from the medical examiner listed on here. We know that the funeral services are Monday, July 20th. Yeah, I don't see anything from the medical examiner here. All right, so let's move on. Let's move on to the distress call. Let's do that. Okay, here we go. This is via Hype Plus News. I don't know. They've been very good, and well, they have 1 million subscribers. They have been very good at keeping us updated to this case. So which is great. Now let's play this.
Reporting live from Hypers Club, Fight Plus News, I'm John Abba. Breaking news coming out of Mississippi. According to outlets NBC News and ABC News, the GPS data and audio of the boat Nolan Wells and friends traveled to on Horn Island with has now been released. According to reports provided by the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, the boat would leave where it was docked at approximately 9:56 a.m. that morning on July 4th and arrive to Horn Island at 11:14 a.m. Now, when they would finally depart after claiming to last seeing Nolan at 3 p.m., the boat would then leave Horn Island at 4:31 p.m. and return to its original departure dock at 5:44, according to report graphics.
Can y'all hear this? I'm sorry. Can you guys hear? Skull, if you're still in here, give me a thumbs up or something. Thanks all for being here. Hit that like button. We're going to be here for a minute because this is a live dig. You know how it goes.
It then would travel into Fort Bayou around 5:52 p.m. before returning to the dock at 6:06 p.m. Later that evening, the boat would then go to Fort Bayou's boat launch at 7:19 p.m. From there, it traveled overland, presumably towed by a vehicle, to the Biloxi, Mississippi residence of the boat's owner. Now, as mentioned, a part of the story from Nolan's friends that they would have to get towed on their way back. Now, tonight, NBC would exclusively air a portion of what was discussed when it would make the call for help. In the audio, you hear one of the friends share that they were sinking, but everybody was on board and okay.
We're sinking. Can you all please come?
And is everybody on board in good health otherwise?
Yeah, everybody's on board.
It still, however, leaves many people wondering what happened to
You guys hear that? Listen.
It still, however, leaves many people wondering what happened to Wells between 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. when his friends say they last saw him at 3 p.m. Now, it is also noted that Nolan, according to other accounts, was last seen by anyone as late as 4 p.m. As mentioned on Tuesday, the FBI has joined the case and in fact was revealed to have been helping local authorities early on, specifically because Horn Island is federal property. In an article by the Sun Herald, it reveals that the FBI will specifically be looking at forensic examination of the digital evidence investigators have collected. Upon research, these findings can include smartphone tracking via cell phone towers, deleted.
Speaking of the FBI, we also have the governor's statement. The governor came out, said some stuff. The FBI, you know what's crazy, you guys? The FBI, instead of helping the investigation, you know what the FBI were called to do? The FBI was called in because some kids were receiving death threats. I mean, not that it's not a bad thing. Like, sure, let's take that very serious here. Yeah, let's take the death threats serious. But what kills me is that, dude, the FBI wasn't called in to investigate the case. The FBI wasn't called in to, perhaps, you know what? Let's subpoena their phones. Let's subpoena each and every one of their phones to see if the data matches up to the GPS. Were they all there? Who was all in that boat? We don't know. None of that has been revealed. You see that photo circulating with Nolan and these 3 other kids that keep circulating? It's very possible that this picture here, it's possible that Nolan wasn't even with these kids. That's still up for debate as well. What if these kids have nothing to do with Nolan's disappearance? You know what I mean? Because we don't know who Nolan was last with. That's the problem. It's just the stories are conflicting. The friends are saying he stayed with Katie. Katie said no, he went over and left with the friends. But here we are. FBI came in and everyone was like, oh, FBI is involved. FBI is involved. Yes. No, the FBI is not involved to investigate his death. the FBI is involved regarding death threats received. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Files, deleted messages, social media activity, and more. It appears now that for those who suspect his friends were behind his death, according to this newly released evidence, the incident had to have happened on or near the island. This story is still developing. Nolan Well's funeral is set for July 20th in his hometown of Ocean Springs, Mississippi, at the Centerpoint Church. Let's talk about it more in the comments below. Now that the GPS data of the boat has been released, does it change your theory of what happened to Wells? Reporting live from Hyper's Club, Fright Plus News, I'm John Abba.
Yeah, it does. Actually, it's more suspicious. Yeah, it's more suspicious now.
Teens have now been arrested for...
Okay, now I want to show you. I have another one. Give me 1 second. And then we'll get back to the GPS data. I really want to look into that in depth. We'll get back there, but let's listen to more stories here. I want to hear that call. We need to really listen to that distress call. So let's see. Hopefully this is it here. State representatives honor Nolan Wells. Okay. I wonder if this is the governor.
The State House of Representatives also taking time today to honor the teen while wrapping up day 2 of their special session. Representatives Hank Zuber and Jeffrey Hullum III speaking on the floor tonight about the legacy Nolan leaves behind.
On behalf of the Coast delegation, I would like to make a motion to adjourn this special session in the memory of Nolan Wells. Even though the good Lord did take him way too early, his contagious smile, he had the most beautiful smile of anybody that I have ever met.
We are a state and a nation built on laws, doing what's right at all times. So we ask you to pray, continue to pray for his family, pray for him, pray for our state. Continue to help us come together in this tremendous time of chaos and confusion. And let the state of Mississippi stand up and show our brotherly and neighborly love.
Representative Hullum also added that not only was Nolan an accomplished athlete and student, he was also a tremendous mentor for the children of Ocean Springs.
Okay, let's listen to the governor speak on Nolan Wells now. And then we'll get back to the GPS tracking. I want to spend more time on the...
New tonight, we hear from the governor on the death investigation of Nolan Wells. Comes on the same day as parents and attorney met with leaders this morning. 16 WAPT's Carlos Garcia here with the latest on the case tonight. Carlos.
That's right. Well, today the family attorney said once the investigation into Nolan Wells' death is complete, it will be turned over to the DA. Governor Tate Reeves also speaking out about the case nearly 2 weeks after the teen's disappearance and eventual death. Nolan Wells was last seen on July 4th after being out with friends. His body found 2 days later in the water at Horn Island. Family and friends have spoken out about the kind of person that Wells was and say they're still searching for answers. When asked about the tragic incident, here's what the governor had to say.
I don't know all of the facts surrounding the case. I have yet to see a fact or a piece of evidence that
I have yet to see a piece of fact and evidence. Now, this is, wait a second. So this is an investigation the sheriff had already made up their minds. This was an accidental drowning. Yet here we are 2 weeks or so, and he has not seen one fact.
that suggests any foul play. But if there is, any foul play, or a piece of evidence that suggests any foul.
I mean, we already know where this case is going, right? When have you ever heard a governor speak out about a case in this manner? I mean, correct, sir. Correct. You have not seen not one fact. So what are you saying here? What?
Or a piece of evidence that suggests any foul play. But if there is any foul play, but if there is, I don't know all of the facts surrounding the case. I've yet to see.
I don't know all of the facts, but yet I have yet to see one piece of fact or piece of evidence that suggests any foul play.
A fact or a piece of evidence that suggests any foul play. But if there is, I feel confident that the sheriff's office, the district attorney's office, the members at the Department of Public Safety that deal with these crimes, if there had been one, they will find it and they will do what is necessary.
During a news conference with the family attorney, Ben Crump, we learned that Wells's parents and attorneys met with the Jackson County DA. They said the case will be turned over to a grand jury. They also said they will do a joint search of Wells's phone, which was not with him at the time of his death.
That's because the district attorney wants nothing to do with this case. So they're like, screw that. We're going to have a grand jury. And here is the press. I hate how low. I don't know if it's intentional. Every single conference, you can barely hear. Here, let's try this one maybe. Let's try this one.
We've just had an opportunity.
Okay, this is better. All right.
To meet with District Attorney Angel McElgrath and some members of her team. We had a very respectful meeting. The thing I assume some of you may know, the thing to announce, she shared with the family that there will be a grand jury that she will turn this case over to once they have collected all the information and finished their investigation. We also agreed that we will have a mutual inspection of the cell phone with our experts and their experts. Attorney Eric Hertz is helping lead the investigation team with former law enforcement experts who are going to.
I mean, do you hear that? You hear the you hear someone mowing their lawn or some bullshit going off. Oh my God, I can't with this case. It's like the Idaho 4, but you know, oh my God.
Help us with the cell phone download, so everybody will be able to see at the same time what the cell phone has. We also talked about trying to make sure we dot every I and cross every T. I know that we're getting about 50 calls a day to 100 calls a day from people who were there.
Listen, 50 to 100 calls a day and tips. Ben Crump, they've been getting. But this is a quick case, right? Open and shut case. Right, Mr. Ledbetter. Ain't that right, Mr. Ledbetter? Sheriff Ledbetter.
On Horn Island, people who are familiar with individuals that were there on Horn Island. And so we continue to be steadfast and trying to get to the truth of why Nolan Wells is dead.
Yes, that's what everyone wants for this family. They deserve the truth about what happened to Nolan. Now, I want to share with you regarding the grand jury.
Yes.
Regarding the grand jury, there's some things I want to talk about, okay? So let me share my screen here. Okay, now, grand jury. Okay, so before we do the GPS, let's go. Before we get into that, I want to discuss the grand jury. Give me 1 second. I'm looking for that. Give me one moment. Here we go. I found it. Okay, cool. Hey, Julian, what's up? Nice to see you. Hope you're having a lovely Saturday. Okay, here we go. This is important, this grand jury, because I need to know more about this grand jury process in Mississippi, right? So what's going to happen here with the grand jury? Let me try and enlarge this. All right. So if it's presented to the Mississippi grand jury, number one, even after law enforcement completes much of its investigation, prosecutors may continue gathering evidence before presenting the case to a grand jury. This can include witness interviews, cell phone data, autopsy, DNA or forensic testing, medical examiner reports, and expert opinions, all right? So we, the public, are not privy to grand jury hearings. We're not. We will not hear unless it goes to trial. So if Ben Crump is correct that the district attorney has decided to, it has. The district attorney decided to proceed to the grand jury. It generally means that the prosecutors believe there is enough evidence to ask jurors whether criminal charges should be filed. Now, what's important here is that in order for my question is, who then? Who is a suspect? Obviously, if they're taking this to a grand jury, there is obviously already a suspect. Okay? Well, there should be. Who are you going to file a criminal sandwich? Who are you going to file criminal charges to a ham sandwich? Who are you going to do? It's obviously a suspect already. So the fact that the district attorney said that it will be presented to a grand jury is huge news, you guys. It's huge because that means, what does that mean? They already have a suspect or suspects. Does that make sense, you guys? Number two, the district attorney presents the evidence. So this is a problem because if what we're hearing about this district attorney is true, we should not have as much hope as we do, unfortunately. So unlike a trial, the grand jury hearing is not a proceeding where both sides argue their case. No, this is simply the district attorney presenting the evidence. So the prosecutor presents witnesses, the investigators testify, and physical evidence may be introduced. Grand jurors can ask questions as well. So the potential defendants and their attorneys generally are not present to challenge the evidence. or cross-examine the witnesses. The grand jury's role is to simply determine whether there is probable cause to believe a crime was committed, and they can go ahead and make an arrest, right? Step 3. Grand juries they're secret, as I said. We the public are not going to be privy to all of this. Mississippi law requires grand jury proceedings to remain confidential. I mean, this is the most judicial, I wouldn't say error, but injustice. Yeah, that's the word. I believe that this grand jury thing is an injustice, in my opinion, the way I see it. Okay. Which witnesses testified? That means that the public will not know. We will not know who testified, what evidence was presented. So basically, no one holds, the public can't hold the grand jury accountable. Not the public, not the judge, not the district attorney. No one can hold the grand jury responsible. We will not know what questions were asked and how the individual jurors voted. The secrecy is designed to protect the integrity of the investigation and the reputations of the people who may never be charged, right? Step 4, the grand jury votes. A Mississippi grand jury generally consists of 15 to 25 jurors, depending in the court. To return an indictment, known as a true bill, at least 12 grand jurors must find there is probable cause to support criminal charges. Remember, probable cause is a much lower standard than beyond a reasonable doubt. The grand jury is not deciding guilt or innocence. They're not. They're not to look at the witness. They're not to look at the evidence and say, I think he's guilty. I think he's innocent. No, that's not what the grand jury serves. It's probable cause. Step 5, 2 possible outcomes. If the grand jury returns a true bill, there's criminal charges that are filed through an indictment. The accused will then appear in court to answer those charges, a preliminary hearing. The case will then proceed toward an arraignment, discovery, motions, and potentially a trial. If the grand jury returns a no bill, no indictment is issued. And depending on the circumstances, any new evidence that later emerges, prosecutors may be able to present this again to the grand jury. All right. So a good thing about this is the only good I'd say is that you can keep trying, right? So let's continue. It says, what could this mean in the Nolan Wells case? Well, if the district attorney has decided to present the case to a grand jury, it suggests that investigation has reached a stage where prosecutors believe the evidence should be evaluated, right, for possible criminal charges. Now, again, this was already said. The district attorney said that on Friday. So to me, they have a suspect or I wouldn't say suspect. What do they call that? Typically, it's called person of interest. There you go, person of interest. So potentially there's a person of interest here. All right. If that's what the district attorney said, that they're going to hand it over, there has to be a person of interest. The fact that the governor came out here and said that there's no facts after it's been decided that it'd be going to grand jury, and the governor is basically ruling out foul play again, is irresponsible. Like, this state, I will never go to Mississippi. I don't want to set I don't want to breathe the same air as fucking Mississippi. Oof, it's terrible. So it does not necessarily mean that anyone will be indicted, but it is a significant procedural step in a felony investigation. For Nolan Wells' family, this also means much of the investigative information may remain confidential while the grand jury process is still ongoing. That could help explain why certain records, such as investigative reports or witness statements, have not yet been released. Well, no, witness statements have not yet been released because the witnesses aren't speaking. The witnesses aren't even speaking. That's why it hasn't been released. They lawyered up. And that adds to the suspicion. Although yes, I'd recommend, if you have a child, a kid, I would recommend lawyering up. But first of all, it's expensive. Let's start there. It's expensive. So you're telling me you rather lawyer up. You're prepared for this fucking attorney bill and you're lawyering up instead of giving the family answers to their questions. Instead of letting the family know the truth. Instead of telling the family, hey, here's the truth. I last saw Nolan, da 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 da. That's the truth. But no, you're going to spend thousands of dollars on this lawyer. Suggests to me that it's guilt. There's guilt. But I'm not a lawyer. I'm just saying. I'm not a lawyer, though. Although the specific reason for withholding any particular document can depend on Mississippi's public record laws and the status of the investigation. A grand jury does not decide whether someone is guilty. Its job is to answer one question. Is there enough evidence, enough probable cause to formally charge someone with a crime and move the case into the courtroom? Well, we don't have witness statements. We don't have witness statements. We don't have that. That is up to the grand jury to decide. What is the grand jury going to look at? Again, it will look at witness interviews, cell phone data. We still have not yet seen the cell phone data. We don't have the autopsy, right? We don't have any of this. DNA or forensic. Remember, DNA is a huge factor here, you guys. If those boys put their hands on Nolan, DNA will pick that up. We will see that. Medical exam, we don't have none of this yet, right? So yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll just have to pray for the best in that situation. Now, I do want to get into the GPS data. All right, let's try and figure this out. Now, first of all, let's go to the clip where we hear the distress call. Let's go to that clip first and we'll pick it up from there. No. Okay, here it is. Let's Nolan Wells. Okay. All right, so I guess TMZ, right? I mean, I'm trying to look. Oh, here, New York Post has it. Let's do that one. Here we go.
Newly released audio obtained by NBC is shedding light into the tragic disappearance and death of an 18-year-old star football player.
We're sinking. Can you all please count?
After he mysteriously vanished during a 4th of July.
I mean, that's all we get. They didn't release more of that, which sucks. It really sucks. Let's listen to it again.
Boating trip.
And is everybody on board in good health otherwise?
Yeah, everybody's on board.
Here's the latest on the disappearance and death of college wide receiver Nolan Wells. A 4th of July boating trip turned tragic in Mississippi after college student Nolan Xavier Wells went missing on Horn Island. According to authorities, Wells and a group of friends took a boat out to the island, a popular spot about 10 miles off the Mississippi Gulf Coast, to celebrate the 4th. Though it isn't clear what exactly transpired on the island, the Jackson County Sheriff's Office said Wells was last seen around 3 p.m. talking to a girl at the north end of the island. Ashley Cole, a judge in Jackson County whose son was among the youngsters with Wells on the boat trip the day he went missing, confirmed in a Facebook post that her son also last saw Wells around that same time. Warren was interviewed by the Jackson County Sheriff's Department and cooperated fully. He saw Nolan last at around 3 p.m. on July 4th. They left around 4:30 p.m. when the boat was taking on water and they had an issue with the bilge pump. Nolan made a decision.
Okay, this is good. You see the 3 p.m. time? I wasn't kidding you. The initial time was 3 p.m. That's what they said. Let's play it again. I'm also going to pull up Judge Cole here. I'm going to pull up her statement.
Warren was interviewed by the Jackson County Sheriff's Department and cooperated fully. He saw Nolan last at around 3 p.m. on July 4th. They left around 4:30 p.m. when the boat was taking on water and they had an issue with the bilge pump. Nolan made a decision to stay on the island and return inland later with another group of friends. Jackson County Sheriff John Ledbetter confirmed to ABC News that Wells's friends left the island without him, telling the outlet that Wells supposedly chose to stay on the Oasis. And now new audio from Wells's friend's boat is revealing new information about their sea voyage back from the island that lines up with Cole's Facebook statement. According to audio obtained by NBC, the teens called for help when their boat suddenly malfunctioned and started taking on water at around 4 p.m. In a call to dispatch, the operator of the boat called for towing assistance.
We're sinking. Can you all please come?
And is everybody on board in good health otherwise?
Yeah, everybody's on board.
GPS data obtained by the Mississippi assistance.
We're sinking.
Let's slow this down one bit. Hold on. You know how we roll. Okay, ready?
Can you all please come?
And is everybody on board in good health otherwise?
Yeah, everybody's on board.
Everybody's on board. Oh, oh man. I've heard just the way his tone, everyone's on board. Almost like he does that's not a confident everyone's on board. Number one, that's not a confident everyone's on board. Whew. And number two, the way he said it, oh my God. It sounds deceptive to me. Let's do it again.
And is everybody on board in good health otherwise?
Yeah, everybody's on board.
GP.
Yeah, everyone's on board. I don't know. I don't believe you. I'm sorry. I don't, in my opinion. Oh my God. Let's listen to that again.
From the island that lines up with Cole's Facebook statement. According to audio obtained by NBC, the teens called for help when their boat suddenly malfunctioned and started taking on water at around 4 p.m. In a call to dispatch,
it started taking on water at around 4 p.m. That's strange because according to the GPS data, it leaves Horn Island at 4:31. Again, there's huge inconsistencies. 4 p.m.? No, it leaves at 4:30 from Horn Island. So what are we talking about here?
Around 4 p.m. In a call to
it started malfunctioning around 4 p.m. How, if it didn't leave Horn Island until 4:30? How is that possible?
And started taking on water at around 4 p.m. In a call to dispatch, the operator of the boat called for towing assistance.
We're sinking. Can you all please come?
And is everybody on board in good health otherwise?
Yeah, everybody's on board.
GPS data.
Yeah, everyone's on board. He sounds bored saying this. He sounds legit bored. What in the actual hell? Let's listen to that again. Hold on.
Functioned and started taking on water at around 4 p.m. In a call to dispatch, the operator of the boat called for towing assistance.
We're sinking. Can y'all please come?
And is everybody
After come, it's clipped. Right there, right. After come, it's clipped. He's obviously seeing other stuff, okay?
on board in good health otherwise?
Yeah, everybody's on board.
GPS data obtained by the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources and shared with NBC News showed the boat leaving the western tip of.
What do you guys think? What do you guys think about this call? Like, does this sound
with Cole's Facebook
being to you?
statement? According to audio obtained by NBC, the teens called for help when their boat suddenly malfunctioned and started taking on water at around 4 p.m. In a call to dispatch, the operator of the boat called for towing assistance.
We're sinking. Can y'all please come?
And is everybody on board in good health otherwise?
Yeah, everybody's on board.
GPS data obtained by the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources and shared with NBC News showed the boat leaving the western tip of Horn Island at 4:31 p.m.
He even says it. Look. Yeah, exactly. Exactly at 4:31 p.m. So what's up with the 4 o'clock bullshit then? Like, when exactly was that call made? Okay. Not only that, forget that. These kids went back out there after this. Okay. For what? For what?
The boat was reportedly towed for around 3 miles before picking up normal speed less than an hour later. It returned.
It was towed. Wait, 1 second.
Picking up normal speed less than an hour later. It returned to the location it originally departed at 5:44 p.m.
Wait, 1 second. It was only towed for a couple miles, okay? So hang on 1 second. Let's do this. All right.
Showed the boat leaving the western tip of Horn Island at 4:31 p.m. The boat was reportedly towed for around 3 miles before picking up normal speed less than an.
Okay, so it was towed for 3 miles and then it picks up normal speed. Okay, so they were able to fix the boat. Okay, they were able to fix the boat. I guess, well, they were on water. Okay. Let's continue.
An hour later.
And then it began picking up speed an hour later. So that would be 5:30.
It returned to the location it originally departed at 5:44 p.m. without wells.
How do you know that? See, that's the problem here. We need to get to the bottom of this. How do we know that Nolan Wells was not in that boat? How do we know this? They're not even talking. They stopped talking, these guys. How do we know that? Who was the captain of the boat? Do you know that there's a law? There's a law called maritime law. It's called maritime law. So what does this mean, right? Exactly. Related, how is this related to Nolan Wells' case, right? Well, because his death is still an open investigation, by the way, and it involved a boat on waters. So this law, it's called maritime law. Let me make sure I'm pronouncing this correctly.
Maritime.
Yeah, maritime law. It could be relevant depending on the facts. So here's the potential issues. Whether the vessel operator complied with boating safety laws, whether there was a legal duty to render aid after someone entered the water, whether the distress call we are sinking, that distress call that we are sinking, although legacy media, mainstream media, although they're minimizing this call, they're saying, oh no, it's not a distress call at all. Ma'am, sirs, we are sinking means you're in fucking distress. Okay? So, although the call triggered specific obligations for the vessel or the authorities, whether any civil claims arising from the incident fall under maritime jurisdiction rather than solely state law. However, criminal charges such as negligent homicide, manslaughter, or other state offenses are generally prosecuted under Mississippi criminal law. Even if the incident occurred on waters, maritime law does not automatically replace state criminal laws. In some circumstances, federal maritime statutes may apply if there is a basis for federal jurisdiction. Wait, do they have jurisdiction here? Let's see. Explain whether Mississippi or federal authorities would have jurisdiction, right? Huh. There are so many elements to this case. It's crazy. Mississippi generally has jurisdiction over crimes that occur within territorial boundaries, including rivers, lakes, waters, and islands. If investigators are considering offenses such as manslaughter, negligent homicide, reckless endangerment, failure to render aid, these would typically be prosecuted by the local district attorney under Mississippi criminal laws. If the district attorney is presenting the case to a Mississippi grand jury, that strongly suggests state prosecutors currently believe there is potential basis for state criminal jurisdiction. Federal jurisdiction. Federal authorities may become involved in the incident occurred on these waterways and its potential violation of federal law. Examples including if you're boating under the influence in certain federal jurisdiction, false distress calls, obstruction of federal investigation, certain safety violations, crimes occurring with special federal maritime jurisdiction. Wow. Federal agencies that could potentially have an interest include the U.S. Coast Guard, FBI, Can both have jurisdiction? Yes, it is possible for Mississippi authorities to investigate potential state crimes and federal authorities to investigate potential maritime violations. Ooh, okay. Interesting. Okay, let's continue.
Later that night, Wells was reported missing by his mother after he didn't return home. A U.S. Park Service ranger recovered his body off the northwestern tip of the island 2 days later. The circumstances leading
the body was recovered where the distress call was made. I repeat, the body was recovered according to some reports here that the call was placed or made, which is interesting. That call was placed and made from the same area Nolan's body was found at 4:31 p.m. That's interesting. You guys. So it's not making sense to me because if he was found on the northwest tip of that island. The distress call was made not far from there. They were still close to north. That means that they were still right on the island. What the fuck?
2 days later. The circumstances leading up to Wells's disappearance and death still remain unclear, leading Wells's mourning family to retain the services of prominent civil rights attorney Ben Crump, who insists that they will, quote, not rest until every fact about what happened to Nolan on Horn Island is brought into light.
The hope is that when this is presented to the grand jury, all relevant witnesses and evidence will be presented to them so that we can have a fair and impartial investigation into the death of Nolan Wells.
Crump has also ordered an independent autopsy paid for by the former NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick. Wells's body was flown over 800 miles to medical examiners in Washington, D.C. for the independent review. Jackson County Coroner Bruce Lynn told CNN that Wells's body had no signs of physical injury. Wells's cause of death hasn't been released, but Jackson County Sheriff John Ledbetter said he had no reason to suspect foul play was a factor. Investigators suspect the football star drowned on the now ill-fated trip. Wells's funeral is set to take place in Oceans.
Okay, I want to get to this comment. It says, not a lawyer podcast. What the family did by way of Crump was assume the death of their son was caused by racism. That's why they... No, I don't think so. No, I mean, if you've been watching and following the case, the family has made... They have came out in 2 separate conferences explaining that they just want the truth as to what happened to Nolan Wells. They didn't bring up any racism stuff. All right. Now, you guys, we are going to move on. We are going to review stepmom's statement here. Where's she at? Okay. So let's take a look at this statement here. So Ashley Cole is the stepmom for one of the boys that you see their picture, that picture that's circulating where they're on the boat with Nolan. I'm not sure which one it is exactly, nor do I care at this point which one it is. Yeah, I'm not accusing any of these boys of anything, but we are taking a look at not only the facts of this investigation, we're also we want to hear any witness statements or anything like that. We want to look at that too and vet it ourselves, right? Now, she is the mother to Warren, if I'm not mistaken, last name Warren. So what she says here is our family, along with the community, grieves the loss of Nolan Wells. Our thoughts and prayers are with Nolan Wells' family. Our son, Warren, oh, she comes out and says that. Warren, okay. So she's Warren's mom. Loved Nolan dearly. Unfortunately, I feel that it is appropriate for our family to dispel some rumors with facts based upon the social media attention that is being diverted away from the Wells family and their loss. Dispel some rumors. Okay, so she wants to come out here and set the record straight, so to speak, right? Set the record straight. Why? Clearly, because there's some behavior that the public is seeing. Perhaps calls you're receiving from the public wanting to know what's going on. You know, there was interesting behavior, right? So, yes, I deactivated my Facebook. She tells us why. Immediately. Yes. So this statement is more of a defense. It's nothing to do with Nolan. I think this is irresponsible again. Everyone that has done anything in this case, whether it be judge, law enforcement, authorities, horrible, 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 horrible. You really are going to come out in the public like this and say things like, oh my God, this is just crazy. Yes, I deactivated my Facebook given the very heightened emotional state of social media right now. I fear the safety of my child and my children. My husband and I have 6 children and we covet their privacy. We do not believe it is appropriate for our minor children's photographs to be circulated. Who is circulating your children's photographs? Like, private, just take them out of your, I don't know. This is crazy. Who's circulating children's photographs here? Potential threats to their safety. And this is why the FBI was called in. I can only assume potential threats to their safety. This is insanity. It's insanity. I graduated high school with Christine Walmsley. We are from the same community. I have the utmost respect for her and all of her Wells family. We mourn the loss of Nolan with them. Our prayers have been and will continue to be with them. My husband and I were not at Horn Island at any point on the 4th of July. So it's not clear to me if this is their boat. Is this Warren's boat or Ashley Cole's, like whose boat is it? Okay. That has not been made public yet. All right. So, my husband and I were not at Horn Island at any point on the 4th of July. She says, no one in our family is trying in any way to impede the investigation by law enforcement or to otherwise hamper the family law enforcement's quest for answers. Warren was interviewed by the Jackson County Sheriff's Department and cooperated fully. He saw Nolan last around 3 p.m. There you go. She blatantly came out here. She came out saying 3 p.m. 3 p.m. was the time, right? Okay. Now, let's continue because she's going to come out with another statement correcting this statement, okay? She's going to come out correcting this statement. Now, if you're telling me this is not suspicious, then I don't know what to tell you. Okay? I don't know. Go seek help. I don't know. 3 p.m. at 4th of July. That's when they last saw Nolan, according to this statement. They left around 4:30 p.m. when the boat was taking on water and they had an issue with the bilge pump. Nolan made a decision to stay on the island and return inland later with another group of friends. This is not factual, Ashley. Because if you had heard from Katie, who has not lawyered up, by the way, this Katie girl, protect her at all costs. Protect that girl. She came out and said the truth. She said, no, Nolan didn't stay with me. So this coming from a judge. First of all, your first statement here about clearing up facts, dispel some rumors with facts. This is not facts, baby girl. This is not facts right here. No, that's not facts, baby. No. Then, yes, I am a judge. Is this lawful? Is my next question. But let's ask good old ChatGPT. Is it lawful in an open investigation for a judge to publicly dispel rumors with facts if investigation surrounds potential people of interests that are relatives? Let's just say relatives. Let's ask. Oh, let's add Mississippi too, in the state of Mississippi, just so we're clear. In the state of Mississippi. Let's see what good old Chat GPT has to say about that. So the answer is no, it is not lawful, not as a routine matter. And there are important ethical and legal reasons why. Miss Cole, you in trouble, girl. Girl, you in danger. You in danger, girl. Because this is unethical, girlfriend. Oh, wow. But let's finish the statement. Then I'm going to tell you Chat GPT. I'm going to show you Chat GPT's response. Yes, I am a judge. I also value transparency. I apologize if anyone was offended that I deleted my social media. There were no nefarious motivations in my deleting my social media. Social media has a lot of positives, but a whole lot of negatives. This statement is surrounded upon let's be real here. What she really wanted to come out and say was not provide her condolences to the Nolan's family. She didn't come out here and say, in my opinion, that let's not divert attention away from the Nolan's family, and their loss. No, baby girl. Let's be real here. What you really came out here to say is explain why you deactivated your Facebook account. That's what the fuck you wanted to explain here. Clickbaiting. We live in a world of clickbaiting. No, we live in a world that is informed. We live in a world of technology. I can quickly ask these fucking questions like I just asked ChatGPT, and now I know you in danger, girl. You in danger, okay? Let's read what ChatGPT has to say. Like, you want to come out here with this fucking bullshit, right? Let's hear it. Clickbaiting bullshit. No. We're getting to the truth of the matter. Now, the answer is generally no, not as a routine matter, and there are important ethical and legal reasons why. If a criminal investigation is still open in Mississippi, a judge's role is to remain independent and impartial. Boom. There you go. I fucking said it like 2 hours ago. How long have I been live? An hour and 38 minutes? Yeah, exactly. As a judge, you are to remain impartial. Judges do not typically act as a public spokesperson for law enforcement or prosecutors, and they generally avoid making factual statements about an ongoing investigation, especially if those statements could affect the potential criminal proceedings. Could you imagine this? What she said, what she came out and said is not ethical, and it could potentially affect their proceedings. Okay? Here's how it breaks down. Judges generally do not comment on pending investigations under the Mississippi, and she did it twice. That was the first statement I read. There's a second statement, okay? There's a second statement where she tries to retract what she said in her first statement. Under the Mississippi Code of Judicial Conduct, judges are expected to avoid public comments that could affect the fairness of a future proceeding, appear to favor one side, undermine public confidence in their impartiality, or create the appearance that they have personal knowledge of disputed facts. Yes, by stating, here, I retract what I just said. She wanted to give a timeline. I retract what I said. Not only did she want to come out here and prove or kind of like, what's that word? Redeem herself, right? Sort of like redeem herself as to why she deleted her Facebook account or made it private or whatever the fuck. That statement that she came out with was, number one, to redeem the fact that she deleted her, in my opinion. And number two is the most important, timeline. She was already creating a timeline, a narrative, a timeline. 3 p.m., 4:30. That is her narrative. She wanted to come out here and establish a narrative. This is unethical. Not only is it unethical, but according to Mississippi laws, those statements could affect potential criminal proceedings. Here's how. Skoma thought to be Miss Amy. Let's go, Amy. They took it down immediately. I have a list. Of suspicious activities in no particular order. The behavior of the suspects, the behavior of the friends. I wouldn't call them suspects. They are not suspects. They're friends. The behavior of the friends. Deleting the social media or making it private. Holding the car keys and the phone. They said they last see Nolan at 3 p.m., but they leave Horn Island at 4:30. The call to the mother was at 11 p.m. Everyone on board, he said, good. Everyone on board in good health, good. In no particular order. These are suspicious activities to me. Okay? And I'm going to talk about it. We're going to make sure this case is investigated fully to get to the facts. We want the truth. We want the truth. This family deserves the truth. And ChatGPT better act right, Lucy said. Okay. So generally, they don't comment on pending investigations. It's a Mississippi Code of Judicial Conduct, Mrs. Cole. Don't you know? Don't you know? Aren't you a judge? You should know this. It affects the fairness of future proceedings, appears to favor one side, already with the narrative, creating a timeline that's fitting for a potential, we don't know, person of interest. Undermining public confidence in their impartiality. Like, you don't care that the people you serve, you're a judge. You serve the people. You are paid by the people. You're a judge. You're a public servant. And you're undermining your job there by showing impartiality. Create the appearance that they have personal knowledge. You can't. You weren't there. You said it yourself. You weren't at Horn Island. These are not facts. This is hearsay. This narrative, this timeline is hearsay. You're a judge. You should know this. This is particularly important if the matter could eventually come before that judge or another judge in the same court. What if rumors involve the judge's relatives? This makes the situation even more sensitive. If rumors concerns family members or close relatives of a judge, publicly addressing those rumors could create questions about impartiality, a potential conflict of interest, whether the judge possesses non-public investigative information. That is huge, you guys. That is huge, because potentially it could be her boat. We don't know this yet, but potentially, this could be her vessel, her boat. Does she have access to the GPS? Did she have access to the GPS data before it was provided to law enforcement? Does she have access to cameras inside that boat that should be seized and subpoenaed? Whether the judge should later recuse from any related proceedings. Even if the judge's intent is simply to correct misinformation, guys. Making factual statements about an active investigation involving relatives could raise ethical concerns. Can you imagine this? Are there exceptions? Let's see. There could be. Maybe she may be safe. Let's see. There are limited situations where a judge, or more commonly a court, through an official statement may respond. And the other thing, she did it on her letterhead. Could you imagine? She did it on that let me go back. That letterhead. Statement release. The letterhead, you guys, I gotta show you. I can't believe this. She wasn't playing games. Statement release. Ashley Cole, Chancery Court Judge, everything. I can't believe it. I can't believe this. Dude. All right. So what else is this saying? It says that the exceptions. Are there exceptions? I don't know. Maybe. Let's see. It says correcting. There are limited situations where a judge or more may respond to misinformation. Correcting false statements about a court procedure, addressing security concerns, explaining administrative matters, correcting misinformation about what occurred in open court. No, none of these exceptions fit this statement that she made. Okay? This is insane. If there was an active investigation, what she had to do was go to law enforcement. Oh my God. Bottom line, judges in Mississippi are generally expected not to publicly weigh in on factual disputes or rumors surrounding an active criminal investigation, particularly when the rumor involves relatives or individuals who could become subject witnesses or parties in future proceedings. Her son, she already knew her son was a witness. She already knew her son was a witness and could possibly be a potential person of interest. Do you guys understand that? And what she did is wrong. The expectation is that judges preserve both their actual impartiality and the public's confidence in that impartiality by allowing investigators and prosecutors, not the judiciary, to communicate about ongoing investigations. This is crazy. Now, there's a second statement. Let's go to her second statement, because she came out with to correct this first one. One second. Oh my God, there's a petition to remove her from office. Oh my God. Remove Judge Ashley Cole for violating Mississippi. Everyone's been on it already. This is not new news. Sorry, I'm a bit late on this, but Oh, so there's a petition already out there. That's crazy. Now, let me look for her second interview. Not interview, sorry. Her second statement. 1 second. Okay. So we have the official statement. We see this, but I do believe that she came out correcting something. And it might be a Facebook. I don't have Judge Cole Nolan Wells. Gosh, no one has it? Maybe on Twitter? Judge Cole Nolan Wells. Let's see. Twitter has it. Oh, I found it. Okay, hold on. Is this it? No. I don't know. Let's read the story. Whatever. I'm done with her. I'm so done with her. I'm done with you, girl. No one wants people to lose their job here. I don't want no one to lose your job or anything. I'm just saying it's very unethical. Like, how dare you, ma'am? How dare you? All right, this is interesting. Now, Katie, I keep bringing Katie up. I keep saying Katie's, the boy said that Nolan stayed behind with Katie, but Katie didn't say that. So I think it's time to talk about Katie. Okay, so let's talk about Katie. So Katie McCormick is cooperating as male friends have lawyered up after Judge stepmom Ashley Cole deactivated her Facebook. Okay, so Katie McCormick is cooperating, it says here. A body has been found in the search for Mississippi. This is an earlier reports. Okay. So officials say a park ranger spotted the body at around 8:40 to 8:45 a.m. So what's interesting to me about this spotting a body, now, when you listen to the interviews by the Cajun Navy officers, or whatever you call them, Cajun Navy volunteers, they said that first of all, they were on air when Nolan's body was discovered by this park ranger. They were up in the air. And I was listening to other interviews by this person again. And there was an interview out there where he says that when they were returning after flying out, looking for Nolan, when they returned, he said he was able to see Nolan's body. They were still on air. They were on air, and he said that he saw some action, and he saw, I remember this interview, he said he physically saw Nolan's body. So that's interesting to me that on their way back from flying, they saw Nolan's body, that his body was visible. His body was visible from the air, from the sky. His body was visible. Is super interesting to me. Again, I keep repeating this, but his body was found exactly where they were partying. You know, that it's just, and it's crazy that from all accounts, from the dad's account, from everyone that's searching, they said they fully searched that area for 2 days. 2 days they were searching for his body. And it just so happens that this park ranger spotted the body this morning, right when the Cajun Navy volunteers were on air, right? Then the Jackson County Coroner's Office is handling confirmation. Positive ID is still pending. It was still pending because he was, the way they identified him were by dental records. You guys, they were unable to identify him. They were unable to identify his body. Could you imagine the state of his body? That he was unidentifiable. I don't even know the state of his body, what could have been. But there is a TikTok out there that's circulating about two girls who know someone within the know someone that transports bodies or something, and this person that works for this transporting of bodies told the girls that Nolan's body, his face was burned. His face was burned. I don't know. I don't know how to take that. I don't know. Like, this is all rumors, you guys, but we know very well that with cases like this, it's always the early reports. It's always those early reports that stick around, right? Before the waters get muddy, before all of the muddy waters, before anything else, these early reports matter. Okay. And we may come back to this same article if it's not taken down, because we know how this goes. Wells, a wide receiver who starred at Ocean Springs High School and was a rising sophomore playing college ball at Southwest Mississippi Community College, went out to the popular Barrier Island on Saturday, July 4th with friends. He was last spotted around 3 p.m. Again, another report about the 3 p.m. time, right? The 3 p.m. They're really sticking to this timeline. Last seeing Nolan at 3. And they're also sticking to the 4:31 timeline, right? Of when the boat had mechanical failures, right? His buddies headed back to the mainland. Now, that's interesting because they headed back, it's what, 3 or 4:30, right? Later that evening, thinking that he might have caught another ride. He just, yeah, sure, he caught another ride. You know, who cares if you're stranded on an island, right? That's insane. His phone somehow made it back to his family. Now we know that this is incorrect. I mean, it's correct. But we know the backstory to this now. We know that Nolan's family had to they tracked his location. They had to track his phone to find it. His phone wasn't brought to the family. His car keys weren't brought to the family. The family had to go get these things. And not only that, they were given a lot of problems, allegedly. But Nolan never showed up at home. Friends and family spent the next day hoping he'd turn up, while search teams from multiple agencies got to work. Sheriff John Ledbetter said they stayed in touch with Nolan's family throughout. His mom, Christine Walmsley, has been posting on social media asking anyone who took photos or videos to share with them. And good thing that, they're posing questions or questioning things and after they sought help from Ben Crump and just applied pressure to the Jackson County Sheriff's Office because of that. As you heard from Ben Crump, there was 50 to 100 calls daily they're receiving about people that were there on that day. Obviously, some have to be vetted out. We don't know what's truthful, but it had to take, I guess the whole point, the central point here I'm trying to make is for Nolan Wells' family to get questions. This is what it had to take. And there's a problem with that. And that's why I'm covering this case. All right, so let's move on to the next thing. Yes. Then common maritime laws. It's federal land. Yeah, Amy, were you here when we talked about maritime? Someone also said 2 neck bones and eyes leaning towards strangulation. Amy, I initially thought, I guess I shouldn't say what I initially thought, but I'm not even going to look at these responses. Okay, cool. All right, so there's more. But wait, there's more. Let's go back to this. We need to go back to this. All right. So, can you guys see this? Yeah. All right, cool. Now, we have a problem here. Houston, we have a problem. So, there's something, before I move on, there's something related to the grand jury review that I want to add on to there too. According to that press conference too, there's a victim's report that is filed, and the victim's family, they obtained that victim's report within 72 hours. And that was not done. I think that's important to make a note of that. Nolan Wells' family has not received a victim's report, which is usually provided within 72 hours. That's important, number one. The family, another thing about that press conference, the family did not have any communication. The press conference was Friday. Mrs. Wells was asked, when was the last time you heard from law enforcement in an interview? She said Tuesday was the last time she heard from law enforcement. That's almost a week. Then when there were questions, so they sat with the district attorney and they were told that the reason why there has not been any contact was because they have this new process called the advocacy process. So an advocate was assigned to the Wells' family, but the Wells' had no idea about this new process. Okay? Because it's unheard of. I was heartbroken when I watched those interviews with the mom, and they were asking the mom about, like, what you hear, what's going on with this investigation. And the mom would say, no, the last thing I heard from her last interview was like, oh, I haven't heard from investigators since Tuesday. Come on. You guys, Mississippi, do better. What's going on? So I wanted to add that on before we move on. And we already talked about, they agreed to the mutual inspection of the phone. There's going to be 2 autopsies and there's going to be 2 investigations. We know that already. Okay, cool. Now, we need to talk about this. All right. We need to talk about this because I'm not understanding this distress call that was placed. Let's read. Hold on. This distress call that was placed. Guys, because they're saying we're sinking, we're sinking. But then they're sinking, they're sinking. But then they go back out to sea. So hold on one second. So, going back to the 72 hours, under the law in Mississippi, a victim is entitled within, I think it's 72 hours, you get an incident report and have certain information shared. It's been more than 72 hours, and that's part of the meeting here today, to start getting the incident reports and all that information that we came here to collect, as well as listen to the district attorney and what she had to say. That was what Hertz said, the attorney said in that conference. So I want to make sure we make note of that because that's important. That's the law. Under the law in Mississippi, a victim is entitled within 72 hours of that. They are entitled to that incident report. So here's this family having to go to the district attorney for answers because law enforcement appears to be lacking. All right? Okay, I think I made that point clear, so we're going to move on. All right, now back to this map. Okay. I guess I should read the press release. Finally, there was a press release. Yeah, let's do that. I'm sorry that I'm jumping around, but we're going to get to this. We're going to get to this. Hold on. Okay. We're going to get to the GPS because that's like now. But before that, let's go to the press release. Let's document this as well. Here we go. So the press release was on the 7th. Okay, the Jackson County Sheriff's Office continues to actively continue. Okay. So this is via Lauren Conlon, by the way, LA Mag. Go give her a follow. Okay. This was released the 9th. But I want to read this press release here. Okay. Because you would think 72 hours, right? After this press release, my thing keeps jumping because all these pop-ups. Here we go. All right, so this was the Jackson County press release that was released on the 7th, right? That was Tuesday the 7th. So let's say 72 hours from that. That would have been the 10th, Friday the 10th. Okay. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office continues to actively investigate the circumstances surrounding the death of Nolan Wells, who was last seen alive on Horn Island on the 4th. We recognize that a significant amount of information, speculation, and commentary has been all these pop-ups, sorry. Oh my God. All right, so it says, we're asking anyone who was on near Horn Island on the 4th to contact Jackson County Sheriff's Office if you have one of the following: any interaction with or sightings of, or a statement regarding Nolan Wells. I mean, But instead of the friends coming forward, they lawyered up. Again, I'm just going to repeat myself that if I was a friend that knew something about Nolan Wells and I was with him that day, I'm not going to retain a lawyer for 40 grand or whatever the hell, how much ever the lawyer's going to cost. If I knew something that it's helpful information for the Wells's family, if I had something helpful to tell them, I am not going to lawyer up. I am going to give them this information. So the sheriffs were asking for interactions, original unedited photos or videos, particularly those depicting alleged altercations or containing images of. So allegedly it was out there that there was an altercation allegedly. And we hear it also. Not only do we hear it, we have a witness coming forward and saying that, yeah, it was me. You know, one of the friends said, yeah, it was me. He was getting rowdy. And he was like, get me the fuck off this boat. I mean, you already know. Like, by reading that article, like of that kid's statements, you already know the type of people that Nolan was surrounded. This kid was fucking fighting to get off the fucking boat, he says. Because he wanted to fight. He wanted to continue fighting, he says. He says, I just wanted to fight. Do you guys understand what's happening here? So it says here, original media often contains critical details that may be essential to ongoing investigations. Anyone who's observed or heard an argument, disturbance, other unusual activities. So it's clear to us just by reading this that something like there was obviously tension, right? Within the group of people that Nolan was with, right? It's my takeaway. Even information that may seem insignificant could prove valuable to investigators. We encourage anyone with firsthand knowledge. This remains an active and ongoing investigation. We appreciate that. So that's that. Now, okay, so back to the GPS data, right? Hi, Layla. How are you? Nice seeing you here. Thank you. Pre-autopsy report and a final. Yeah, a preliminary and a final. In my opinion, it's going to be telling. At least I pray it is. And Amy, what's good is that there's going to be two, right? That's a good part of it. I'm happy about that. And look, for all intents and purposes, if it comes back, Amy, and hey, you know, if both come back with the same, hey, it was a drowning. He drowned. You know, what more can you do? That's what the parents want. They want the truth, you know? But this here, guys, I don't know. Let's look at it. Now, this is the GPS data, boat data, okay? And what I created here, this map is literally all of the, is based on the reports, okay? So based on the reports, here's what we were given. Here's the information that was available to us. It says here, scrolling, I'm looking for it. Here we go. Location. All right. Sorry. All right. So here's the key timeline observations here. All right. So 4th of July, right? Let's start from the 3rd. We know that Nolan stayed over Warren's house on the 3rd. So he slept over on the 3rd. Now 4th of July, the following day, right? 4th of July morning, 9:56 a.m. It departs. You guys can see my cursor, right? It departs from Ocean City Dock right here, right? Number 1 at 9:56 a.m. Follow my cursor. It takes them 78 minutes, a little over an hour to arrive to Horn Island. Now they're on Horn Island, number 2. At 11:14 is when they arrive. Okay, cool. They were chilling, right? Hanging out, doing their thing. They were here. Oh, I want to add that the speed is at, according to the data, according to the time, obviously, and the distance, they were going about 14 to 17 miles per hour. Right? So this vessel was going 14 to 17 miles per hour. Okay? They arrived to Horn Island. They arrived there. They're there for 5 hours and 17 minutes. At 4:31, they receive, at 4:31, a distress call was made. So that means that they were still close to Horn Island when that call was made, because GPS is clocking them around right here at 4:31. They're still in Horn Island at 4:31. So again, when that distress call was made, we're sinking. They were still around here, guys. They weren't traveling back. They were around here, okay? Now, they depart at 4:31. And within 2.5 miles, they were towed. They were towed 2.5 miles. So the distance here is 18 to 22. They were only towed. They were only pulled for, that tow, 2 miles only. Okay. So the boat was pulled 2 miles. Okay. So just think 2 miles. Let's just say here, right? 2 miles. Oh, we're sinking. Come and help us. Again, they were only pulled 2 miles. All right. Now they continue. Back. They depart at 4:31 and they arrive back at Ocean City Dock at 5:52, and that's 81 minutes. So, and the speed that would have taken, I'll tell you, the speed was the similar, 14 to 17 miles per hour. So the same speed when they left the dock to Horn Island, about 14 to 17 miles per hour, was the same speed when they headed back. Same speed, 10 minutes more, okay? When they rode back, although it was towed or whatever the hell, it was at least 10 minutes more than the first path, or whatever you want to call it. First route, first leg. Same amount of time, same amount of speed, okay? You're with me? Now they're on Ocean City and it's 5:52 p.m. Now they're on Ocean City. So what happened here is that, let's see, once they got to Ocean City, it departs at 6:06 p.m. So just a couple minutes, 5:52, from 5:52, they arrive 5:52 p.m. and it departs 6:06, right? Just like a few 10 minutes or so, they depart. And where are they headed to? They're headed to Fort Bayou Launch, okay, you guys? So that's leg what? 3? Yeah, leg 3. Okay? Now, this distance, this is where it gets tricky, you guys. This is where you raise your eyebrows like, huh? Like, what? Say what? Like, what you mean? Because what happens is that here, this third leg, you see this distance? That's 5 to 7 miles. And this should only take you 14 minutes, right? From Ocean City Dock to Fort Bayou is 5 to 7 miles. That should only take you about 14 minutes. If you're going 20 to 30 miles per hour. So if you're riding this 20 to 30 miles per hour, this 5 to 7 mile route could take you about 15 minutes, okay? All right, so that's what they do. Now they are at Fort Bayou or Bayou, right? So what happens here, again, think about it. These kids, we don't know if Nolan is with them. Everything is hearsay. Why is everything hearsay? Well, it's hearsay because their friend said that he stayed with Katie, and Katie said no, he left with the friends. Although Ashley Cole, whatever, Judge Ashley Cole, they tried to come out here and say, oh no, they told Nolan was not on that boat at 4:31. She says literally. Almost like she had the GPS data, huh? It's almost like she had the GPS boat location when she says, oh no, 4:30. 4:30, baby. Nolan did not get on the boat at 4:30. Well, Ashley Cole, it's hearsay. Okay? And it's an open investigation. Now, we don't know if Nolan was in that boat. Check this. Then what happens as after it arrives at Fort Bayou, according to the GPS data, that's public information, you guys. It heads back to the dock. And you know what, you guys? When it heads back to that dock, it took them 1 hour and 13 minutes. Again, same distance, 5 to 7 miles. 5 to 7 miles. It took them 1 hour and 13 minutes. And guess what? The speed was slower, and there's a possible stop that was made. There was a possible stop because the speed was slower. Obviously, where did they stop? Who knows? This gave me pause. This gave me super pause. So then they return and they arrive back at the dock at 7:19 p.m. Okay. And That's it. That's all we know. All we know is that the boat arrived back at the dock at 7:19 p.m. This is after the distress call. The distress call was made over here. So after the distress call and all of that, they decided to go back to this other little bayou launch. What do you guys make of this? Because I can't even. And then it says at 7:19 it was towed back to land. I don't know about that. What do you mean it was towed a second time? No. Actually, let's pull up. Wait, before I leave. Yeah, before I end this live, let's go back. Katie didn't see. Kia, you're wrong. I'm sorry. You're wrong. This data is according to the information that's public. So let's pull the actual article so you guys can see. Okay. All right. So Nolan Well's case will go to a grand jury. Ben Crump pushes for a fair investigation. It was clarified in Wednesday's press conference that once the investigation surrounding the tragic death of Nolan Wells is complete, Jackson County District Attorney Angel Myers McGrath's office. I need to Google her later. So that is the district attorney. I hear that this district attorney, actually, let's go there. That's what I want to do. Let me pull information about this district attorney. Hold on. So okay. Okay, hold on. I'm trying to pull this video. 1 second. So his name is Anyway, I can't find it right now. I was looking for an interview, but I can't locate it. Okay, so we're getting dozens of people calling in every day. That was on Horn Island, said Crump. We heard that already. We know that our life experience, we read all this. Attorney Eric Hertz will help lead Crump's investigative team. Okay, he's the main attorney, Eric Hertz. Okay, he said there's a lot of narratives out there right now. I'm not going to comment on any particular one, but whenever a case this big gets in the news, people try for whatever motivations, law enforcement or whoever people that call in try to set up a narrative so that people will follow the narrative. That's right. Our job is to cut through all the noise and find the truth. Okay. I read about the Mississippi law. They are entitled to that incident report within 72 hours. Okay, cool. But the article I was looking for actually is the article about the GPS data so that you guys can see it for yourselves, because someone in comments is saying this data is wrong, and that's incorrect. So I'm going to show you the actual article. So here it goes. First of all, obviously the mainstream media is not giving us more. You see this? It's stopping the data. It's not giving us anything after 606. So this is wrong. I'm going to play this.
Ford is J.D. Power's #1 brand in new vehicle quality. Celebrate during the Ford Summer Sales Event. Get 0% APR for 36 months, 0 payments for 90 days, and 0 maintenance for 2 years, plus $1,000 down. See you at JLN Ford today.
Developments in the Nolan Wells case we've been following.
Yeah, our CBS News partners revealing some new GPS data from the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, tracking the movements of the boat Nolan Wells was on before he disappeared July 4th.
Will Polston joins us now live from the boat launch with more details. Good morning to you, Will.
Hey, good morning, Bill and Brandy. Good morning, everybody joining us at home. That's right, the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources
Amy, can you hear this, Amy?
is releasing the GPS data of where the boat that Nolan Wells was on July 4th and its whereabouts on that day, just to kind of narrow down that timeline a little bit more. Here's what we know from the data. 9:56 a.m., the boat left land and then went towards Horn Island, which it arrived around 11:40.
Exactly. That's exactly what I have. Whoever said your thing is wrong, your timeline is wrong, girl, is you blind? Is you blind? I have 9:56, arrives at 11:14, leaves Horn. I have exactly this. So what is you talking about? The only thing that this lacks, it lacks the information after 606. And why do you think mainstream media is holding that, you guys? Why do you think mainstream media is not wanting us to see that?
14 a.m. Then the GPS data says that the boat left the island around 4:31 p.m. before traveling into Fort Bayou and returning to the dock at 6:06. Later that night, the boat went to the boat launch here at Fort Bayou and was pulled out of the water and taken back to the owner's home in Biloxi. Now, a DMR report also says that the owner of the boat, his mother, and one other person with Wells are all cooperating with the investigation. Now, this stuff.
You guys heard what he just said. The owner of the boat, hold up,
are all cooperating with the other person with. Our report also says that the owner of the boat, his mother, and one other person with Wells are all cooperating with Wells. The owner of the boat,
the owner of the boat, his mother, the owner of the boat, his mother. So, okay. The owner of the boat, his mother. Is he saying 3 people or is he saying 2? I need help. Chat, help me out.
A DMR report also says that the owner of the boat, his mother, and taken back to the owner's home in Biloxi. Now, a DMR report also says that the owner of the boat, his mother, and one other person with Wells.
So he says the owner of the boat, his mother, and one other person with Wells. So, but is it 2? Does he mean the owner of the boat, his mother? Which the owner of the boat is his mother?
Are all cooperating with the and taken back to the owner's home in Biloxi. Traveling into Fort Bayou and returning to the dock at 6:06. Later that night, the boat went to the boat launch here at Fort Bayou.
See? They even said it. Later that night, the boat went to the Bayou launch. Listen. Watch.
To the dock at 6:06. Later that night, the boat went to the boat launch here.
Later that night, the boat went to the boat launch. But guess what? We're not going to give you the fucking timeline of that. Why not, mainstream media? You clearly know it took off after this, but you're not providing the complete timeline now, are you?
At Fort Bayou and was pulled out of the water and taken back to the owner's home in Biloxi. Now, a DMR report also says that the owner of the boat, his mother, and one other person with Wells are all cooperating with the investigation. Now, this doesn't necessarily point to one person or point to anything in particular, but now there's concrete evidence of when and where the boat.
Hold on. You guys, you're saying three people. The owner, mother of another person. The owner, the mother of the owner? Are you saying the mother of the owner? So wait, 3. So I'm not trying to be funny. I'm just trying to understand. The owner, the mother of the owner, or is the mother the owner? Ugh. Maybe they went to dinner. I'm being sarcastic. I heard that rumor too, Amy. There should be a ring camera. There should be something. There has to be something. I heard that rumor too. All right. Wait, let me go back.
Was pulled out of the water and taken back to the owner's home in Biloxi. The dock at 6:06. Later that night, the boat went to the boat launch here at Fort Bayou and was pulled out of the water.
It was pulled out of the water. So listen, you guys, it seems like there could have been another call. He just said the boat was pulled out of the water after they went to the launch. After they went to the Bayou launch, the boat was pulled again out of the water. Listen.
And returning to the dock at 6:06. Later that night, the boat went to the boat launch here at Fort Bayou and was pulled out of the water and taken back to the owner's home in Biloxi. Now, a DMR report also says that the owner of the boat, his mother, and one other person with Wells are all cooperating.
Yo, these kids. Well, they're adults. They're 18, 19. They're adults. I'm saying kids because I still see them like that because, yo. So twice they needed to call for help. No way, you guys. No way.
With the investigation. Now, this doesn't necessarily point to one person or point to anything in particular, but now there's concrete evidence of when and where the boat was at what times. We have heard reports that the boys left the island right around at 4:30, and now that's starting to, that is being backed up now. We'll see exactly what this does for the investigation as time continues.
Okay.
Live in Ocean Springs, Will Polson, WLOX News Now.
I don't like that mainstream media. They decide they're only giving us what they want to give us, you guys. We have to look deeper. We have to look deeper at this case, okay? So let's take a look at here because, I mean, this is exactly what I had on my timeline, all right? Again, the boat leaves at 9:56. Officials said Wells did not, again, officials said Wells did not return on the same boat. Has that been confirmed, verified? How has this been confirmed and verified if the kids lawyered up? The kids did not come out with statements. None of them spoke about this. So how do you just come out and say that he was not on the boat? And then you're getting conflicting stories. Protect that Katie girl at all costs. Protect her. She literally shot down. She shot down these boys' fucking story. The boys' story. Trying to tell the boys' narrative is that what? That Nolan stayed behind with Katie and she shot that down real quick. No lawyer needed. No attorney needed for the truth. Now, this Fort Bayou thing, right? Later that night, The boat went to Fort Bayou boat launch at 7:19 p.m. and was taken out of the water and traveled over land. Oh my gosh, so it was towed twice, you guys. Because we know the distress call was made at 4:31, and we know that it was towed 2.5 miles at 4:45 p.m. So now you're telling me that again, the boat was towed yet again? The DMR report obtained by CBS News that the owner of the boat, his mother who? Whose mother? The owner of the boat's mother? The owner of the boat, the owner's mother, and one other person who was with the Wells. It is three. It's the owner's mother, and another person, according to this. But we need more information about this. Let's look it up because
Now.
If your family vacation ride is looking a little past its prime, it's time for an upgrade. The all-new 2026 Toyota 4Runner is built for summer adventure. Lease yours today for just $499 a month at J. Allen Toyota.
okay.
Developments in the Nolan Wells case we've been following.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I have another article. Let's see what the other reports are saying, okay? Let's go. I hope it's not Katie's dad. I'm staying open. Friends of Katie's dads are on my list. Yeah. Oh, why do you think it's Katie's dad? We don't know shit. All opinions for Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know who the bone. We don't know that yet. That information has not been made public yet. Yeah. The mother is the owner's mother. According to the article. So I have another article. Let's go to that one and see if it tells us anything different. Because it's lacking information. It's lacking that last trip. Okay, so you guys can see this? Yeah. All right, cool. So here's new GPS ladder sheds light. All right. So let's see if this provides more information. It does provide more information. You see this? Okay. All right. Listen to this. So, I'm telling you guys, that data that I have on my map is accurate. So, whoever is in here saying that is wrong, no, you're wrong. You need to read this article, unless this article is wrong. But here's the data that we have, okay? Which matches my timeline, which matches not only my timeline, it matches my map. And once this stops jumping up and down, like maybe I can read it. But for now, it's just doing its own thing. Here we go. Here's an approximate timeline of the boat's movements that day. 9:56 left the dock. 11, screenshot this. You guys can screenshot this and I'll show the map again. 11:14 arrived at Horn Island. 4:31 left Horn Island. 5:45 arrived at the original dock. 5:52 traveled to Fort Bayou. 6:06 returned to the dock. 7:19 went to Fort Bayou boat launch. It was traveling to Fort Bayou at 5:52. At 6:06, it returned to the dock. Yeah, that's correct. That's what I have too. And then 7:19, it went to Fort Bayou launch. Okay. So let's see if they have a map. It would be helpful if they have a map. No. All right, let's go on next. Let me see if it's on GPS data. Nolan Wells. Okay, let's see what we have here. Oh, okay, I found something. Well, that map is not clear. This map is not clear enough. I can't use that map. Let me see. Here, let's look at this. Maybe this.
a.m.
Okay, so hold on one second. I'm going to replay this. Western ends of Horn Islands. Yes, Lenny. Thank you for joining. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so let's play this real quick. This is via Rodney Crypto Journeys. Nolan Wells case update. New details drop in Nolan Wells GPS boat tracking data plus frantic friends call for help. Corroborates some of the witness timelines. Okay, let's listen in.
The boat departs from El Camino Real Road at 9:56 a.m. Remember, the boat departed from a private dock, not a public one, and if you look on Zillow, you can see a few of them. The boat traveled from that private dock all the way to Horn Island, where they arrived at 11:14 a.m. Remember, this is the statement from Warren's mom, Judge Cole. She wrote that Warren last saw Nolan around 3 p.m. on July 4th. Warren and the rest of the friends left around 4:30 p.m. when the boat was taken on water, and they had an issue with the bilge pump. Nolan made the decision to stay on the island and return later inland with another group of friends.
We're sinking. Can you all please come?
And is everybody on board?
Okay.
Nolan Wells' family just revealed.
In good health otherwise?
Yeah.
All right, so this call was made around 4 p.m. So as I stated, it is correct. The way I was perceiving this timeline is accurate. Again, the call was made around 4 p.m. But they were towed 2.5 miles at 4:45 p.m. When they were around Horn Island, they were towed 2.5 miles only. That's it. Remember, the distance between Horn Island and the dock where they were, the distance is about 20 miles. So they were only pulled 2.5 miles. Okay. Let's keep that in mind. Again, and they left Horn Island at 4:31 to be exact. So let's play this again.
Yeah, everybody talks away.
After receiving assistance and being towed for about 2.7 miles, they traveled back to
The date for his funeral.
El Camino Real Road.
Can you guys hear this? Can you guys hear this? All right. So yeah, he says 2.7. I see some reports saying 2.5. I see some reports 2.7, and I also see some reports 3 miles. So it's within that vicinity, okay?
Road, the same place they left.
So if they were told this, obviously this, again, the distance between here and here is about 20 miles. So don't think they were towed the whole entire way. Okay, now let's play it again.
From in the morning and arrived at 5:44 p.m. Now, a lot of people were asking, well, why did they only get towed for 2.75 miles, right? Well, apparently with the bilge issue, they're fixable once the boat is stable and moving again. Now, from El Camino Road, they go to Fort Bayou. And as you can see, it's not that far with.
So he keeps mentioning El Camino Road, but what we have, according to other reports, we have Oceans, it's labeled Ocean City Departure Dock. Now, whether it's the same dock, I'm not sure. But what was publicly reported was Ocean City Departure Dock, alrighty?
This map, but once you pull
6 minutes.
The boating map, you can see that it's more than a 6-minute ride, especially on a boat. Now, apparently this is right around the area where they were picked up, or the boat.
What?
Right. Well, apparently with the bilge issue, they're fixable once the boat is stable and moving again. Now, from El Camino Road, they go to Fort Bayou, and as you can see, it's not the.
This is not how my map has it. I entered in Fort Bayou launch. He's entering Fort Bayou boat ramp. This is not how my map has it. I don't know.
That far with this map, but once you pull out the boating map, you can see that it's more than a 6-minute ride.
Um, 1752 is 5:52. At 5:52, we have it arriving back at the dock. So where is this pointing?
Especially on a boat. Now, apparently this is right around the area where they were picked up, or the boat was.
It will be on Monday, July 20th. The 18-year-old was reported missing on July.
This loss, this grief, this pain, it's different. It's insurmountable. And I know if Nolan was here, he'd be like, Mom, just keep talking to the people, keep telling my story, keep telling your story. So that is going to be my plan.
A visitation and memorial service will be on Monday in Ocean.
What is this? Oh, wow. Let me see. What did he write? Here are the original photos that they shared. Terrible quality. Yeah, this is terrible quality. That's why I had to make my own map. All right, so let me save this image and maybe try to do this. If I open it up, let's do this. Let me present this image and see if maybe we can zoom in. This is terrible quality, I agree. Build starting to work when underway. That may be true, but never heard of that before. Interesting. Do you have a boat? I'm interested from boat owner. Like if you own a boat, I'm so interested in what you have to say about this. because wouldn't that be a mechanical issue? Because that's how they are labeling it. They're saying it's a mechanical issue. And if it's a mechanical issue, how'd you get the boat to start again? Exactly. Exactly right. All right, so let me zoom in real quick. Let's see what we got here. So this is the actual map that they provided. 956, it leaves El Camino Real Road. Is that where Ocean City departure is located? Is Ocean City departure located at El Camino Road? Let's see what it says. Ocean City departure in Mississippi. Let's see what it says. Yes. Based on GPS and marine data from Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, the private departure dock is located off El Camino Railroad. Okay, you guys. So, although they're calling it El Camino, know that El Camino Road is actually where the Ocean City departure dock is located, okay? If that makes sense. So, now let's head back over to this map. Okay, so, all right. So we know that, yeah, that's the port. I'm sorry, that's the departure dock we've been talking about, right? Okay, cool. Now, next, it arrives on Horn Island at 11:14. Okay, cool. Is that what I have? Yeah, I have that. Arrives 11:14. Okay, gotcha. Next. Then it says at 17:44, it arrives again. At 5:44, it arrives again. But I have 5:52. Well, 5:52 is down here. What in the fucking fuck? They have this boat. Okay. 11:14 it arrives. Then it departs Horn Island at 16:31, right? Which is 4:31. Okay, that's when it departs. Yes. The vessel was towed approximately 2 3/4 miles before normal operation resumed. Okay, we understood that. Your next point would be here, okay? Then it goes back to Ocean Dock at 5:44. Oh, I see. Okay. This instead of 5:44, I have 5:52. I see what happened here. I see. I'll fix that. That's an easy fix. So I had the boat arriving at the dock at 5:52, but it should be noted that it arrived back at the dock at 5:44. Okay. Then 15 minutes later, at 5:52, it heads to Fort Bayou. Now, I'm interested. This is the same boat, so I guess no longer mechanical issues, right? I'm assuming they were no longer having any issues and they just wanted to party some more. But I used to work on a boat. I never heard that bilge will begin to work only after underway. They may have repaired it while underway. I see. Okay, so then at 5:52, it's headed to Fort Bayou Launch. We have that. Then that's all we get, you guys. I'm telling you. Then The last page here, it says at 6:06. At 6:06, it goes back to what? El Camino Road? This doesn't make sense because 5:52 and 6:06. So like 7 minutes later. Is that 7 minutes? 52? Nine minutes. Anyway, the point is, what I'm trying to say is, look, you guys, it headed and then turned around. It headed at 5:52 and then turned back to the dock at 6:06. But then how about that 7:19? And then we get a 7:19 time that it returns to Fort Bayou. It says it returns to Fort Bayou at 7:19 p.m. because it's towed back to land at 7:19. Yo, this is crazy. Now I'm confused. They drove the boat to Fort Bayou for repair, then back to the home dock. But yeah, but look at this, Lenny. Okay. This says that at 5:52 p.m., they were headed to Fort Bayou. And the next thing on the map is at 6:06, they headed back to the dock. That's not making sense to me at all. Is there someone else that has a proper timeline? Like, we need the correct. There's one from, I have a video from, let's play this video. Maybe I have this video, maybe it sheds more light on this, but it's not. I mean, I thought I had it all figured out, but I really don't. So my apologies. I'm not a lawyer though, so my apologies. Let's see what this says.
About the Independence Day boat trip Nolan Wells and his friends took to Mississippi's Horn Island. As part of a records request to the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, NBC News obtained GPS information for the boat. The records show it departed from a private boat launch at 9:56 a.m., arriving at the island by 11:14.
Okay, I got that down packed. Memorized. 9:56, 11:14. Boom, I got that. Okay, let's continue.
And staying there until 4:30 p.m. An audio of a call around that time to a
There we go. They said around 4, but it's 4:30, okay? You guys need to go out. Hold on.
private towing company obtained from the same records request. The caller explains a mechanical issue with the boat.
We're sinking. Can you all please come?
The towing company dispatch reaching out to a local captain for help.
It sounds like a bunch of kids on board on Horn Island, and he's saying the boat is sinking. He wants you guys to go out there and unpump the boat and then tow it in.
Records then show the boat being towed slowly.
Wait a second. Let's back this up really quick because the audio here sounds different from the other one.
Captain for help.
It sounds like a bunch of kids on board.
An audio of a call around that time to a private towing company obtained from the same records request. The caller explains a mechanical issue with the boat.
We're sinking. Can you all please come?
We're sinking. Can you all please come?
The towing company dispatch reaching out to a local captain for help.
It sounds like a bunch of kids on board on Horn Island, and he's saying the boat is sinking. He wants you guys to go out there and unpump the boat and then tow it in.
Records then show the boat being towed slowly from about 4:31 until 5:25.
There you go. There you go. Remember, I told you guys it was only towed for 2.75 miles, 2 3/4. Okay, and 5:25 p.m. 5:25 p.m.
Before getting back to normal speed, the boat then returned to its original location at 5:40.
Okay. I have 5:52. I see where I may have mixed it up. I see the mix up. I have it returning to dock at 5:52, but that's incorrect. It's at 5:44. So I'm going to fix this. I'm going to fix this map. Now, yeah. Okay. Now this makes sense to me. All right. Okay. This makes sense to me. The fact that they went back out is, what? You have mechanical problems with your boat, but you're risking your life and your friends' lives. Possibly, maybe you just don't care, right? That's reckless behavior. Let's continue.
44 without Nolan Wells. Melissa Miller was at Horn Island on the 4th. She says there were hundreds of boaters there for the holiday.
It's just a big community. Everyone goes out there and
Notice how they're not giving us the other data. They're not showing us the other trip they made. Notice how they're just showing us from Horn Island back to the dock. They're not showing us that other trip they made.
has a good time.
She also says it's normal to leave cell phones on boats and that currents at the northwest corner of the island can be treacherous.
Like you can go out there just innocently, and next thing you know, the water's like kind of sucking you in, throwing you back out.
After speaking with one of the friends on the boat, Nolan's concerned mother.
She was already making excuses.
The water's
yeah,
out there just innocently, and next thing they're just innocently, and next thing you know, the water's
innocently.
You can go out there just innocently, and next thing you know, the water's you can go out there just innocently, and next thing you know, the water's you can go out there just innocently, and next thing you know, the water's like kind of sucking you in innocently, and next thing you know, the water's like kind of sucking you in, the water's like kind of sucking you in, throwing you back out.
After speaking with one of the friends on the boat, Nolan's concerned mother reported him missing to police.
Police report her 18-year-old son, Nolan Wells, missing past scene at 3 on Horn Island.
Again, everyone keeps saying 3 o'clock on Horn Island. That was the last time they saw him, yet they leave at 4:30.
His body was found on July 6th. His mother struggling as she plans his funeral, posting on Facebook.
This loss, this grief, this pain, it's different. It's insurmountable.
Now, one parent has also posted that some of Nolan's friends have been getting threatening messages. The FBI does confirm that it is investigating threats connected to this case.
The FBI is investigating threats connected to the case, but ain't no way the FBI is investigating this case, right? Ain't no way. Let's see what this one says. Again, it doesn't give us the full timeline. It's not giving us...
Continuing to follow the investigation into the death of Nolan Wells, the Department of Marine Resources released a report detailing the whereabouts of the boat Wells took out to Horn Island on July 4th. Joining us now live is Will Polston to give us a breakdown of the timeline. Will?
Hey, good morning, Brandy. We now have gotten a chance to hear some of those details that have come from that report from the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources following that boat. with timestamps of where it was on the day of July 4th when Nolan Wells had taken that boat with some friends out to Horn Island and was expected originally to come back. That being said, here's what we know from that report. Around 9:56 in the morning, the boat took off in direction to Horn Island and then arrived at Horn Island at 11:14 a.m. Now, there isn't much movement or any new reports until 4:31 p.m. whenever the boat left Horn Island. Now, we are told by officials that Wells did not return on that same boat as the group, as we know. Now,
by all accounts, everyone is reporting. Everyone's reporting. They're making sure everyone's reporting this, that he did not get back on the boat. Why? Why is everyone saying this?
At 5:52 p.m., the boat entered Fort Bayou, and then
5:52, boat enters Fort Bayou. Okay.
And then at 6:06 p.m., it had returned to the dock.
That's the part I'm stuck right there. It goes to Fort Bayou at 5:52. It enters Fort Bayou and then back within minutes.
To the dock. And then it wasn't pulled out of 6 p.m. It had returned. And then at 6:06 p.m. it had returned to the dock. And then it wasn't pulled out of the water until 7:19 p.m. whenever the owner had came and taken it back to the Biloxi residence. Now, we're told that the owner of the boat, one of the kids and one of Nolan's friends, have been cooperative with law enforcement. That comes from the Jackson County Sheriff's Department. We're also told that the report on the position of the boat ended on July 5th, whenever the Jackson County Sheriff's Department took over as the lead investigative agency on this case. Now, of course,
I pray the truth comes out too. This is crazy.
Working, we're going, we're sinking.
Last reporting live from Hyper Club, Fight Plus News, I'm John Alba.
We're at the west tip of Horn, and our
west tip of Horn. First of all, like, it's literally called Horn Island. Like Horn, like, what are the odds of that?
Village pump stopped working. We're going, we're sinking.
Last night, we would share breaking news in regards to Nolan Wells, as audio from a toll call made by his friends around 3 p.m. on July 4th, according to NBC News, would be released. Now, in an extended version of this call, we are now hearing where they were exactly when the call was made. According to now released audio and GPS graphics.
And that's where he was found. He was found on the western tip of Horn Island.
They were on the western tip of Horn Island.
We're at the west tip of Horn, and our village pump stopped working. We're going, we're sinking.
Now, as you know, we've been following the story, and what we have now noticed is
northwest tip. See, he was found where the call was made.
That the call looks to be made in the same area Nolan's body was found.
See?
2 days later, on Monday. As local outlet WLOX stated, around 8:45 a.m., Sheriff Ledbetter confirmed authorities received a call reporting a body found at the northwestern tip of Horn Island. The body was discovered by a U.S. Park Service ranger. Now, this clearly now gives us a better understanding that when the friends allegedly last seen Nolan at 3 p.m., they would make a call about the boat taking in water in needing of a tow. GPS data graphics would again also confirm they were located on the northwestern tip of the island. Now, at 4:31 p.m., they would eventually be towed for about 2.7 miles out before returning to normal operation and headed back to land. Now, after gathering all this information, it now seems for some that Nolan's incident, given that his body was found in the same area, had to have happened between the call at 3 p.m. when they stated to last seeing him and when they would be towed away at 4:31 p.m. Now, another thing that would stand out in the audio and raise suspicions is that the dispatcher would ask the boat's operator if everyone on board was in good health. And in response to that, he would go on to say, yeah, everybody is on board.
We're sinking. Can you all please come?
And is everybody on board in good health otherwise?
Yeah, everybody's on board.
Now, what is hard to understand for some is if they waited for a tow to help them leave the island, why did they continue having no contact with Nolan, given that they were all friends and this towing incident seemed like an emergency? Also, according to the released GPS graphics, it does not appear that the boat was too far out for them to see or be near the shoreline. Again, this would happen as they reportedly had Nolan's phone on the boat, and that Nolan allegedly wanted to stay back to speak with a girl he just met. Now, on Wednesday, Nolan's family representatives would speak to the Mississippi DA to hear the latest. They would go on to admit that not much new information was shared, but that the DA will be presenting evidence to a grand jury to declare how the mysterious death of Wells should move forward. Now, despite a seemingly positive meeting with the DA, not everyone is letting up. Former Mississippi Judge Carlos Moore, who would go viral for sharing his reaction to the case, would return back to his Facebook and would issue a warning to anyone fully trusting the DA, Angel McIlrath. According to Moore, his past run-in with McIlrath, as according to him, was a bad experience, as she failed to get an indictment for an incident that clearly should have gotten one.
Day 11, and there has still been no arrest. To me, that is unacceptable. That is unacceptable because we know on day one, had there been 3 young Black men to return to the mainland from an island and 1 white young man left there who disappeared, who died under suspicious circumstances, we know within 1 day of beginning an investigation, with all the suspicious activity that we know that have occurred here, if it occurred in that situation, we know that there would have been arrest by now. So it's still unacceptable to me that no arrests at all have been made for any particular crime. And I've laid out a litany of potential crimes that members of law enforcement, if they were doing their jobs unbiasedly and thoroughly, could have made by now, but they refuse to do so. The family has been calling for transparency all this time, so I don't know why you would keep them in the dark last week that you were doing an investigation when somebody who knows how it's done calls you out on Sunday night, early one Monday morning, you decide to tell everybody that you're doing an investigation. So thank you, DA McIlrath. We've been wondering what you have been up to the past few days. So now we know, because I don't play. School had recess. I do not play. I don't even play the radio. Those folks know me. They know me well. And if I say it, I mean it. And so I see today, not only did she had announced earlier this week that she was going to work with, or was working with the Jackson County Sheriff's Department, she met with the family and their counsel and gave them an update and told them that she will be presenting all of the evidence to a Jackson County grand jury. That is a step in the right direction. But is it a step in the right direction because we had to call her hand? Had she planned to do that all alone? I had the unfortunate experience of meeting the DA, McIlrath, back in 2019.
Okay, so that's not good news. That's not good news so far about this district attorney.
When I was with a partner with the Cochran firm, and Toussaint Diamond Sims was killed by a Morris Point Police Department officer on August the 8th, 2019. It was caught on video. There were several witnesses that said that young man had nothing in his hands when he was shot 5 times in the back by that Morris Point cop. 5 times in the back, nothing in his hands. DA McIlrath presented all that evidence, overwhelming evidence, and she still could not secure an indictment of that officer in Jackson County. So before everybody goes and starts singing her praises, let's make sure she's not going to do another sham presentation to the grand jury.
Well, we're already at a disadvantage, and the case hasn't
never, and I mean never.
So already at a disadvantage. This is new. What? No, this is not new. There was another one that popped up. Another one and another one. Damn it. Here, new clues. Oh no, that's 2 days ago. I just saw one about GPS data. All right. I guess we'll just keep an eye on this case. I'm just trying to make sense of the GPS data, but I know that
Story from Nolan's friends that they would have to get told on their way back. Now, tonight, NBC would exclusively air a portion of what was discussed when it would make the call for help. In the audio, you hear one of the friends share that they were sinking, but everybody was on board and okay.
We're sinking. Can y'all please come?
And is everybody on board in good health otherwise?
Yeah, everybody's on board.
It still, however, leaves many people wondering what happened to Wells between 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. when his friends say they last saw him at 3 p.m. Now, it is also noted that Nolan, according to other accounts, was last seen by anyone as late as 4 p.m. As mentioned on Tuesday, the FBI has joined the case and in fact was revealed to have been helping local authorities early on, specifically because Horn Island is federal property. In an article by the Sun Herald, it reveals that the FBI will specifically be looking at forensic examination of the digital evidence investigators have collected.
I don't know how true this is because I think they came out already and said the FBI is only investigating the death threats. So I'm not sure how true that is, honestly. Anyways, what more can I say about this case? I mean, I'm just outraged. I'm outraged. I'm just trying to make sense of this all, as we all are. Thank you all for joining and watching. Yeah, I'm ending this live. Thank you all for joining. Wow, the sun came down. The sun came down. It's nighttime. Good night. Thank you, Lenny, for joining. Thank you so much, Amy and everyone else who stopped in. Yeah, we're going to continue covering this case, and I'll keep you guys updated with any new developments. Just trying to make sense of it all. Thank you all for watching.